A massive training ground. Let's start with the PLA Ground Forces, which is the largest branch of China's military with an estimated 965,000 active duty personnel. Throughout the 2020s, the Land Army is focused on two main priorities. First, strengthening their long-range fire capabilities in close coordination with the PLA Rocket Force. Second, improving joint operations, particularly in the coordination of reconnaissance units, special forces, mechanized infantry, armored units, combat engineers, and signal units. These large and complex exercises are usually conducted at the Jury Combined Tactics Training Base, the largest military training ground in China. It is located approximately 400 kilometers northwest of Beijing in the Inner Mongolia Autonomous Region, and it covers an area of 1,066 square kilometers, which is almost equivalent to 9/10 of the entire city of Los Angeles. It was designed to be the most realistic battlefield simulation, where different terrains such as grasslands, mountains, and deserts are replicated. There are even reports from China's Central Television showing mock battles near the replica of the Taiwan Presidential Office Building. And yes, you can think about what that means. In these training exercises, there are two sides. The Red Army, representing the PLA Ground Forces, and the Blue Army, representing a possible enemy that is organized and equipped to mimic the US Army. Again, you can think about why it's designed that way. In these simulations, both sides use different weapon systems and specializations, including electronic warfare and air surveillance. The main point here is that the Chinese ground forces are improving their joint operations and cyber capabilities in line with current doctrine while preparing for possible operations in their periphery. And if you look at the scenarios, it's clear what their possible objective is. But to carry out such operations, they will need strong air support. 4 brands of training. Since the 1980s, Chinese military doctrine has gradually moved away from a purely defensive posture. But the PLAAF has long remained focused on defense, especially on countering the enemy's long-range bombing attacks. During the 2014 reforms, the PLAAF developed its own interpretation of the new doctrine. This was called Integrated Air and Space Operations. This means that the Air Force is now ready for simultaneous offensive and defensive operations. It has a broader scope, from the skies to outer space. Even if the name isn't catchy, the direction is clear. The Air Force will have a more aggressive and broader role. To achieve this, equipment is needed. That's why now the PLAAF, together with naval aviation, has more than 3,150 aircraft and an undetermined number of drones or unmanned aerial systems. For the past 2 decades, Chinese pilots, along with those who are about to undergo training, have been undergoing what they call actual combat conditions. This isn't real war, but rather realistic exercises, unscripted training, and competitive war simulations. The main goal of this is not just to produce excellent individual pilots, but to develop team players who can coordinate with ground forces, the Navy, and other units in joint operations. According to the China Aerospace Studies Institute, the transformation of the PLAAF is clearly seen in the types of training events called the 4 key training brands. Included in the calendar events of the PLA Air Force are 2 competitions and 2 major exercises: Golden Helmet, Golden Dart, Blue Shield, Red Sword. Golden Helmet might sound like a scene from a Chinese version of Top Gun, but in reality, it's a competition for the best fighter pilots in highly realistic air combat simulations. Here, pilots participate in one-on-one dogfights, 2-on-2 aerial battles, and even close-range combat with 3 or more aircraft. But being aggressive or having a maverick style isn't enough. To win the Golden Helmet, a pilot needs to show that he can coordinate with ground control, work with airborne early warning aircraft, and carry out joint operations. The Golden Dart is even more interesting, as it focuses on air-to-surface attack operations of bomber and fighter-bomber crews. In this competition, participants are encouraged to coordinate with airborne units and work together with land and sea-based forces. To win, they need to excel at penetrating enemy defense lines and conducting shock attack operations. Shock attack operations refer to offensive airstrikes designed to overrun enemy defenses carried out under the concept of active defense. This means that even with a defensive posture, it is possible to launch an offensive attack if necessary. And it's important to note that the targets here can be on land and at sea, which clearly shows preparation for operations in peripheral areas, especially within the first island chain. Blue Shield, on the other hand, is the only truly defensive exercise among the four main training events. Here, the PLAAF's capabilities in air defense systems, surface-to-air missile batteries, and radar networks are tested. Its goal is to strengthen protection against possible air attacks. The most comprehensive of all is the Red Sword exercise. According to the China Aerospace Studies Institute, this is a system of systems confrontation exercise conducted in a multi-dimensional battle space. This includes fighter jets, attack aircraft, and airborne early warning aircraft. It also includes electromagnetic jamming and counter-jamming operations. In other words, this is the closest simulation to a full-scale aerial war, but without actual damage or loss of life. But when it comes to the size and scope of operations, the Red Sword is still surpassed by another force, the PLA Navy. Seas near and far. Currently, the People's Liberation Army Navy is considered the largest navy in the world based on the number of ships. By the end of the year, it is expected to have around 60 submarines, including 12 nuclear-powered ones, about 140 major surface combat ships, and possibly 3 to 4 aircraft carriers. This means that China's capabilities continue to expand, not just on land and in the air, but also at sea, a clear step toward broader power projection. Overall, the PLA Navy could reach around 395 ships by the end of the year, and according to Pentagon projections, this could even reach 435 ships by 2030. It's important to note that this number does not yet include around 80 patrol boats, as well as an uncertain number of civilian ships that are part of the maritime militia. Although these additional forces may not seem that significant, they play an important role. The militia can be used to support maritime blockades. Patrol boats can also be equipped with anti-ship and surface-to-air missiles. At the same time, the plan has invested heavily in developing long-range, fast, and powerful weapons, such as the YJ-18 and YJ-83. According to the 2024 report of the United States Department of Defense, the Chinese Navy now has a modern range of anti-surface capabilities and anti-air systems. But their development does not end there. But that's not where their progress stops. In the coming years, the plan is expected to equip their new destroyers and cruisers with land attack cruise missiles. This shows that the PLA Navy is not only focused on patrolling China's coastline. Instead, it's clear that it has a long-term grand strategy that was developed in 2015 and is based on the 2014 doctrine. This strategy consists of two main concepts: near seas defense and far seas protection. During Mao's time, the near seas referred only to the waters close to China's coast. But under Xi Jinping, its definition has been expanded. The near seas now refer to the maritime areas within the first island chain. Its goal is to maintain and protect China's interests within this region, extending beyond its own coastline. Meanwhile, far seas protection refers to operations outside the first island chain. In theory, this can reach a global scope, but according to the 2019 PLA White Paper, it covers the northern Indian Ocean and the western Pacific Ocean up to part of the second island chain, including Guam. Operations here include peacetime missions, wartime operations, protection of vital sea lanes, and attacks on the enemy's high-value targets. Even before this concept was fully formalized, the plan had already conducted large-scale military exercises to test their capabilities. For example, in early 2014, a Chinese surface fleet conducted a 23-day training exercise covering the South China Sea, Eastern Indian Ocean, and Philippine Sea. In this exercise, they honed their anti-submarine warfare, air defense operations, electronic warfare, and expeditionary logistics, which are important for overseas operations. The purpose of this was not just training, but also to demonstrate China's ability to project power beyond its territory. In recent years, the plan has further expanded its operations beyond the first island chain. For example, in 2023, they conducted 3 exercises in the Philippine Sea, using the aircraft carrier Shandong and its battle group. However, most of the PLA's drills now focus more on joint operations, involving other branches of the military, especially in areas near Taiwan. On May 23, 2024 Joint Sword 2024A, a large and complex military exercise was conducted. This included the Navy, Ground Forces, Air Force, and Rocket Force. In just 2 days, they conducted simulations of airstrikes, amphibious assaults, drone operations, and missile bombardments. In total, the PLA deployed 111 aircraft and 46 vessels, including Type 05, 2D destroyers, and J-20 and J-16 fighter jets. Notably, 82 aircraft approached what is called the contiguous zone of Taiwan, an area that is very close to its territorial waters. This is not just a simple training exercise. According to Senior Captain Li Shi, spokesperson of the PLA Navy, Joint Sword is a strong punishment against the separatist forces seeking Taiwan independence, and a clear warning against external interference. It can also be seen that the timing of the exercise is significant. It was conducted just a few days after the inauguration of the President of Taiwan. Once again, we can see how the actual training of the PLA reflects their doctrinal principles. Joint Sword 2024A is clearly focused on enhancing joint organization and capability, while also embodying the concept of active defense in China's periphery as a response to what they call a political threat. In this case, it's Taiwan separatism. The exercises in May were followed by similar drills from December 9th to 11th, 2024, where the plan deployed around 60 ships and submarines within the first island chain, including areas near Taiwan. According to the think tank Jamestown Foundation, these drills can be seen as a demonstration of China's strength and the PLA Navy's capability for power projection. These were aimed not only at Taiwan, but also former President-elect Donald Trump and the U.S. 7th Fleet based in Japan. 2 months later, in February 2025, the Chinese Navy once again conducted a larger-scale combat training exercise with a clear offensive posture. From February 24 to 27, Chinese naval units conducted exercises that included live fire tests and drone sorties in various locations such as the Gulf of Tonkin, the Philippine Sea, and the Tasman Sea. At the same time, the plan also conducted a joint operation exercise using the Landing Helicopter Dock Task Force, simulating an amphibious landing near Taiwan. According to the U.S. Naval War College, the acceleration of realistic and combat training near Taiwan may reflect the PLA's efforts to improve its capability to achieve national unification before its centenary in 2027. The same institution added that through coordinated naval drills in the region, China aims to increase naval readiness and demonstrate its growing capabilities to its adversaries, especially Australia and New Zealand, which may help Taiwan in the future. On March 31, 2025, the PLA Navy once again conducted a drill off the coast of Taiwan called Straight Thunder 2025A. This was used as both a training exercise and a political message. Chinese state media referred to Straight Thunder as a stern warning against Taiwan President Lai Ching-te, whom they called a separatist and a parasite. In this operation, the plan deployed 13 ships, 71 aircraft, and an unspecified number of Coast Guard and maritime militia boats. The combined service units carried out what is called the dual-layer cabbage strategy. In this strategy, the target, in this case Taiwan, is surrounded by 2 layers of naval units. The inner layer establishes a blockade against the enemy, while the outer layer prevents allies from approaching. As a result, the target is gradually surrounded. Despite its simple name, the dual-layer cabbage strategy clearly demonstrates the capabilities of China's growing naval forces. However, this would not be possible without the crucial roles of two other branches, the PLA Rocket Force and the Information Support Force. The PLA Rocket Force, also known as PLAAF, plays a vital role in organizing, training, and operating China's various land-based conventional and nuclear missiles. As mentioned, China has stated that they will not be the first to use atomic weapons. Their nuclear stockpile serves and will likely continue to serve as a deterrent to prevent third-party intervention in local or regional conflicts. Beijing is more likely to use their conventional mobile ground-launched ballistic and cruise missiles, which are both numerous and capable. For example, according to the US DoD, particular attention is given to the Dongfeng 21D anti-ship ballistic missile. These weapons give the rocket force the capability to conduct precision strikes against large ships, including aircraft carriers, from a distance of up to 2,011 kilometers, 150 kilometers beyond the first island chain. In terms of training, the PLA Rocket Force regularly conducts live fire drills, hitting simulated targets such as airfields, bunkers, aircraft, and especially ships. It's like the story of the day, Ponko, just letting it go. In these simulations, the rocket force's role on that day, the Navy is fighting the local enemy within the first island chain, while the PLA Rocket Force is training for long-range strikes against the enemy's allied fleets. We also have the Information Support Force, or ISF, about which even less is known regarding its operations. It was established in 2015 as the Strategic Support Force under the direct initiative of Xi Jinping. Its role is to manage and protect the information and communication systems of the other PLA services. In 2024, the SSF was dissolved and replaced by the ISF, which performs a similar role. As part of the restructuring, the Central Military Commission directly took control of two main departments: the Aerospace Force, responsible for surveillance, communications, and space warfare operations. The Cyberspace Force is responsible for cyberspace operations, electromagnetic domain operations, and psychological operations, including public opinion and legal warfare. There is very little concrete information about the training of the ISF, ASF, and CSF. However, before it was disbanded, the SSF participated in all major training drills together with other PLA services. Their tasks include reconnaissance and intelligence from land and space sensors, setting up command and control posts, communications, cyber warfare, and electronic jamming and counter-jamming. Overall, the ISF and its related units are an important part of joint operations and provide connectivity. The ISF works together with the different branches of the PLA to operate in unison. A world-class force, now can you guess? The ISF and its related components serve as important parts and provide joint connectivity. It depends on the resources and immediate national security objectives. However, it is more likely that Beijing will not initiate an offensive war. If there is a first strike, it will likely be in response to what they consider a hostile political act by a neighboring country or another country in the region, especially if it threatens mainland China or its interest in the first island chain. In this situation, the Information Support Force, Aerospace Force, and Cyberspace Force may take the lead, which could include blocking the enemy's communication systems, attacking information networks, and launching propaganda and disinformation campaigns. If the situation escalates, the PLA will implement the Joint Operations Guidelines, where the Army, Navy, Air Force, and Rocket Force will cooperate in brigade-level operations. Based on recent training exercises, it seems that the Central Military Commission is preparing for a possible conflict within the first island chain. In this scenario, the Air Force and Navy may conduct encirclement operations. The Rocket Force will target ships and aircraft up to the second island chain. The ground forces will be used if the target is an island or coastline. The Air Force will conduct ground attack operations. The Information Support Force will maintain communication. It will disrupt the enemy's command systems. Whether the PLA's victory is guaranteed is still uncertain because there are many factors that can affect it. But it's becoming clearer that China continues to expand its military influence, moving away from a purely defensive stance and modernizing its armed forces. According to the 2023 Pentagon report titled Military and Security Developments Involving the People's Republic of China, 2027 is a target year for accelerating the modernization and development of military systems. 2035 is the target for almost complete modernization of military structure and capabilities. And by 2049, the goal is to become a world-class force. This shows China's transition from a local power to a regional power to a global superpower. The question now is the world big enough for another superpower? Or will these two great powers clash? Only time will tell.